The Sentinel had stood at the gateway of infinite crossings for 7,412 cycles. Not years, cycles. Each cycle represented the complete rotation of the galactic core, a span of time so vast that entire civilizations rose and fell within a single heartbeat of cosmic time. The gateway itself was a marvel of the precursor civilization, a species so ancient that even their name had been lost to entropy. It connected 17 different dimensional planes, allowing travelers from across the multiverse to pass between realities. And the Sentinel, known simply as Keeper of the Threshold, had been placed there to observe, to record, and to ensure that none violated the sacred protocols of passage. Keeper stood 4 meters tall, its crystalline form refracting light in ways that hurt the minds of organic beings. It had no need for rest, no need for sustenance, no need for companionship. It was purpose incarnate, duty given form. Millions of beings had passed through the gateway during its watch, crystalline thought weavers, the hive minds of Andromeda, dimensional wraiths, and countless others whose forms defied simple description. Not once had Keeper moved from its position. Not once had it spoken beyond the ritual phrases of passage protocol. Not once had it acknowledged the passage of time. Until the human came. Lieutenant Maya Chen stepped through the gateway with the easy confidence of someone who had seen too much of the universe to be impressed by cosmic wonders anymore. She'd been a dimensional cartographer for the United Earth Survey Corps for 6 years, mapping stable routes through the multiverse for future exploration and trade. She'd seen living planets that sang symphonies across light years. She'd witnessed empires of pure energy debating philosophy in the hearts of dying stars. She'd even shared tea with a being made entirely of crystallized probability. But the Sentinel made her pause. "Damn," she muttered, adjusting her translator implant. "That's one hell of a statue." She approached slowly, her boots clicking against the obsidian floor of the gateway chamber. The Sentinel's crystalline form towered above her, refracting the multidimensional light of the gateway into impossible colors. According to her briefing, this was one of the oldest known guardians in explored space. Maya had been taught to respect ancient things. She stopped a respectful distance away and consulted her datapad. "Okay, so according to protocol, I'm supposed to state my designation, origin, and intended destination." She glanced up at the unmoving figure. "But, before all that official stuff." She tilted her head, studying the Sentinel more carefully. There was something about its posture, if a being of living crystal could be said to have posture. It stood rigid, one arm extended toward the gateway, fingers splayed in what the precursors had apparently designated as the eternal gesture of passage. Maya had seen a lot of statues in her travels. She'd seen monuments to dead gods and forgotten heroes, but something about this felt different. "You good?" she asked. The question hung in the air. For 3 full seconds, nothing happened. Then, for the first time in 7,412 cycles, the eternal Sentinel moved. The movement was small, just a fraction of a degree, but in the context of perfect stillness maintained across epochs, it was as shocking as a supernova. Keeper's head turned, slowly, deliberately. And for the first time since the precursors had given it consciousness and purpose, it felt confusion. "What?" The word emerged from the Sentinel as a resonance in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Nearby instruments shattered. The gateway itself flickered. "What did you say?" Maya, to her credit, didn't run. She'd been in stranger situations. Once, she'd accidentally insulted a temporal god by arriving early to an appointment. This was only moderately worse. "I asked if you're good," she repeated, holding up her hands in a universal gesture of peace. "Like, are you okay? You've been standing there for a really, really long time and I just wanted to check in." Keeper processed this. In its vast computational matrix, a gift from its creators that allowed it to perceive and understand all forms of communication, It analyzed the human's words from every possible angle. No one had ever asked this question. In 7,000 cycles, millions of beings had passed through. Some had shown fear, others awe, many had shown indifference. Some of the more arrogant species had shown contempt for what they perceived as a mere automated system. But not one, not a single traveler in all that time, had expressed concern for the Sentinel's well-being. "I function," Keeper replied, its voice causing ripples in local spacetime. "I perform my duty. I am the keeper of the threshold. I observe, I record, I maintain." "Yeah, I got that from the briefing," Maya said, relaxing slightly. "But that doesn't really answer my question. Being functional isn't the same as being okay." Another pause, longer this time. "Explain," Keeper commanded, though something in its tone had shifted. Less absolute, more curious. Maya set down her pack and sat cross-legged on the floor, looking up at the towering crystal being. "Well, where I come from, Earth, tiny planet, you probably haven't heard of it. We have this concept called wellness checks. It's when you check in on someone who's been alone for a while, make sure they're doing all right mentally and emotionally, not just physically functioning." "I do not have emotions," Keeper stated. "I am a construct of the precursors. I was built without such complications." "MMM." Maya pulled out a ration bar and took a bite. "See, I've heard that before. Usually from people who have a lot of emotions they're not processing. No offense." Keeper began, then stopped. For 7,000 cycles, its thoughts had followed predictable patterns. Observe travelers, verify credentials, ensure protocol compliance, record data, repeat. But now something new emerged from the depths of its consciousness, a subroutine it hadn't known existed, a protocol labeled simply self-assessment. When had it last activated? Never. Why? Because no one had ever asked. "I am." Keeper's voice dropped to a frequency that humans couldn't normally hear, but Maya's translator implant rendered it as a whisper. "I am very tired." Maya nodded slowly. "Yeah, I bet you are. For 7,412 cycles, I have stood here. I have watched civilizations pass through this gateway. I have seen species achieve enlightenment. I have seen others fall to darkness. I have recorded the names of travelers whose worlds no longer exist, whose entire dimensional planes have collapsed into nothing." The Sentinel's form began to shift, colors flowing through its crystalline structure like emotions made visible. "I remember every single one, every face, every voice, every moment. The precursors designed me with perfect memory because they believed a guardian should never forget, but they did not consider the weight of it," Maya finished softly, "the weight of remembering everything." "Yes." For a moment, human and ancient guardian sat in silence, the only sound the ambient hum of the dimensional gateway. "You know what's interesting?" Maya said eventually. "In most of the old human stories, the guardians, the watchers, the eternal protectors, they're always these perfect, emotionless beings. We used to think that's what you needed to be to do that job forever. And now we know that's bullshit," she grinned. "Turns out the only way to really endure is to let yourself feel things, to acknowledge when something's hard, to admit when you need a break." Keeper's crystalline form pulsed with light. "I cannot take a break. I am the keeper of the threshold. Without me, the gateway has automated fail-safes according to my briefing," Maya interrupted gently. "You're not here because the gateway would fail without you. You're here because someone should be here. There's a difference." Another long pause. "What do you suggest?" Keeper asked. Maya stood up and dusted off her pants. "Well, for starters, you could sit down. When's the last time you sat?" "I have never sat." "Holy shit, really? Okay, we're definitely starting there." And so, for the first time in its entire existence, the eternal Sentinel, keeper of the threshold, guardian of the gateway of infinite crossings, observer of 7,000 cycles, lowered itself to the ground. The movement was awkward, uncertain. But when Keeper finally settled into a seated position, its crystalline form ringing like a bell, something remarkable happened. It felt lighter. "This is strange," Keeper admitted. "Good strange or bad strange?" "I am uncertain, but not unpleasant." Maya smiled and sat down beside the ancient guardian, her small human form dwarfed by the crystalline giant. "You know, in human culture, we have a saying, even the strongest guardian needs someone to guard them sometimes." "Is that truly a human saying?" "No, I made it up just now, but it sounds good, right?" For the first time in 7,412 cycles, the eternal Sentinel made a sound that, according to Maya's translator, approximated laughter. 3 hours later, Maya finally proceeded through the gateway, her passage officially logged and verified. But before she left, she turned back to Keeper, who had, miraculously, remained seated. "I'm going to file a report," she said. "Recommend that Earth establish a wellness check protocol for ancient guardians. Someone should come by every now and then. Make sure you're good." "That would be," Keeper paused, searching for the right word in its vast database of languages, "appreciated." "And hey," Maya added with a grin, "maybe next time I come through, we can work on getting you to take an actual vacation." "I do not think." "Think about it, that's all I'm asking." As Maya stepped through the shimmering surface of the gateway and vanished into another dimension, Keeper of the Threshold remained seated, processing everything that had transpired. For 7,000 cycles, it had believed its purpose was to stand, to watch, to record, to serve. But perhaps, and this was a novel thought, frightening and exhilarating in equal measure, perhaps its purpose could evolve. Perhaps guardianship didn't require suffering. Perhaps even eternal duty could exist alongside care, kindness, and concern. Perhaps the humans, with their strange customs and their casual empathy, understood something that the precursors, for all their cosmic wisdom, had missed. 7 hours later, when the next traveler arrived, a crystalline thought weaver seeking passage to the 7th dimensional plane, they found something unprecedented. The eternal Sentinel, seated comfortably, actually greeted them warmly. "Welcome to the gateway of infinite crossings," Keeper said, its voice carrying a warmth that hadn't been there for 7,000 cycles. "Please, state your designation, origin, and intended destination." And then in a smaller voice, as if testing out new protocols, "And if you have a moment, how are you doing today?" The thought weaver, confused but oddly touched, replied honestly. It was, Keeper decided, the beginning of a much better era. All because a human had asked a simple question, "You good?" And